Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
First, a word from our sponsor. The Daily Compliance News for January 12, 2023, the Spies, Cash, and Corruption Edition. And we begin with that story from the Financial Times, which reports that investigators are looking at Morocco as an ongoing part of the Qatar Gate investigation into EU corruption. The corruption investigation has obviously expanded beyond the original Qatar and now is looking at payments made from the Moroccan government. Of course, the Moroccan government says we didn't do anything wrong, but the corruption probe is certainly expanding. Next up, Coinbase is going through some pretty massive layoffs, and as reported by Richard Vandeford over at the Wall Street Journal Risk and Compliance Journal, the wide-scale layoffs will not impact its compliance team, particularly after the settlement a couple of weeks ago with the New York State Department of Financial Services. Coinbase is going to cut operating expenses by 25% and lay off 900 people, but there won't be, quote, meaningful, end quote, layoffs in the compliance team. So it's going to be interesting to see how Coinbase navigates this. Next up, first of 2 stories from Reuters. The first story says that the SEC has sued the white shoe law firm of Covington and Burling for details of 300 of the firm's clients whose information was accessed and or stolen by hackers in a previously undisclosed cyber attack. It happened back in November 2020, and Covington and Burling did not disclose the attack. And the law firm told the SEC that it will resist any subpoena to name its clients. So pretty difficult position for a law firm if they won't respond to a legal obligation. And our final story, also coming to us from Reuters, is that the former Austrian ex-chancellor and right-wing leader Hans Christian Strache has been found not guilty on a retrial of his corruption charges. He had resigned from the government in 2019 based upon another corruption scandal. He was originally handed a 15-month sentence in 2021 for graft, only to have a higher court overrule because a text message suggesting he was innocent was not apparently taken into account sufficiently by the court. So the retrial, he was found not guilty, and it looks like his political career is still over. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow.